$270,000 in life claims paid out. So our loss ratio was over 400% between the basic life and the voluntary life. Nice thing about, again, on the fully funded side is you're able to switch companies because the new company you're going to didn't pay that claim out. It's an inherited risk from the insurance company standpoint. It may not seem like the nicest thing to do, but it's our job to go out and shop the entire marketplace and get the best deal. So same thing works on the health insurance. We had the 2014, we were in line for a 23% increase. And we didn't take it because we were able to move companies. And the claim that we had wasn't going to run as much with the new company because the biggest part of it had been paid out of the prior company that we had in 14. So on this sheet here, you'll see standard life is the lowest. We'll go to the voluntary life here a little bit later. Their voluntary life rates are about $1,000 higher. So Mutual of Omaha is going to be your best rate overall between the basic life and the voluntary life. And I've got a financial summary that will show that I'll break this out. The dental, again, dental is the hardest expense to control. Again, life insurance rates, death expectancy, life expectancy, whatever you want to call it, doesn't change. And if anything, they go down every 15 years or so. Where dental is kind of like the medical, like in the pharmacy, the trend just keeps going up because the cost to get a filling, it costs $1 this year, it's going to cost $1.07 next year. So one of the things that Darren asked me is our average increase for groups your size is running between 9 and 9.5%. So you'll see in the overall trends out there, depending on the metropolitan area, it's running anywhere from 6 to 14% for groups your size. Hey.
I think they're on.
We're back.
All right. So the dental, Lincoln is going to be the best deal, Lincoln National. And we quote about, I guess, 32, 33 companies on these ancillary benefits. So I didn't list all of them. We put out the best four. But what Lincoln is also doing, besides being able to actually give us a little bit of a decrease, they're putting a 5% rate cap for the second year renewal, so we have protection there as well. So we know at worst we'll end up, in over a 2-year period next year, maybe 2 to 3% higher than we are this current year. But we'll take a reduction this year. Vision. Again, we're currently with Guardian. We did not get an increase. Doesn't matter, we shop it every year. Lincoln is a little bit lower than what standard is, but the network for Lincoln is Spectra, which is a good network. It's not as good as the DSP network. And for, the roughly $700 for the year, I would go with standard on the DSP network. It's a better deal for the employee. So this is the voluntary life. It's a little convoluted. It's basically age-based rates. Thing to look at is the standards rate is $21,117 for the year. Mutual of Omaha is $20,133. So the other good thing about Mutual of Omaha is it keeps all the rates the same as where they are, so payroll deductions is not a nightmare going back through and changing that. This is your financial summary. So I put in red the amounts and the companies that we're recommending on this. It'd be a tad bit more administratively for the city because you'll end up with 3 carriers, or it's combined into one right now, but the savings is a little over, right at $7,000 a year, and we're getting protection on the dental, the second year rate cap. So if you look at the Mutual of Omaha combined, and then Lincoln on the dental, and then I would go standard on the Vision with the BSP network. It's gonna give you $138,857 compared to $145,850. So I told Joe I had good news, that everything was going down. It's not. It's, like I said, it's fun to be able to give this kind of news. So, questions on that? The other thing we're going to do is, I noticed in the paper that some questions about self-funding. I'll give you guys a quick 10,000-foot overview of self-funding and how it works. We check this option every year for the city as well. I just took we kind of went over this in 2015 when the Merlin plan came out. Steve and I were talking about that a little bit before the meeting. And they were just trying to recruit people in municipalities. This is where we would have run as the city being self-funded in 2015.
Bless you.
Your administration, which you're paying the third-party administrator and paying for the networks and the reinsurance to keep your exposure at a certain level, runs about 15% of your total cost, and then claims is the other 85%. And you need to run around 85% is your bare bones break even on your loss ratio. So an estimation where you would have wanted to run to make it worthwhile for you at 15 would have been about $1,099,000 in claims, which would have left us at about 12.93. So that is where we would have, if we'd have run really well and had a perfect year. Our break even, which is what we paid the 1.46 million, is where it would have been break even. And what we actually ran in 15 was 1.76, 1.756. So wouldn't have been a very pretty year. It would have been about $300,000 loss that the city would have taken. And the thing with self-funding is the city, the client pays that the year it happens, because it's going on and you have that risk. And then if you have a claim that's going on, let's say you have we'll go into it because I got a perfect example for you guys, and it's in your group. This is our history. So the last 5 years, we've run at an average of 96% loss ratio. So it gives you an idea, if the target is 85%, we're on the wrong end of that right now. And what we've had is 3 not very good years. We had a pretty decent year last year, and we're running well so far this year. We've got a chance to get a rebate this year if some things don't go forward with what we're going to talk about. The HRA is a health reimbursement account, and it's what we buy our deductible down. We're partially self-funded right now. We fund our deductible from the $3,000 down to the 0 level for the employees. And by the way, we are the only client out of 400 plus that has a 0 deductible 100% plan. Not even my ESOPs have that. Benefits are extremely good, but our health reimbursement account, a normal risk for that is about 15% of your deductibles are met and reimbursed. The city, we're running about 26%. This year we're running pretty well right now. Through October 31st, we were sitting at 113,000 that we reimbursed, and a rolling 12 months, we're at 140,000. So it just means that we have high utilizers, which is normal in municipalities, and it's not a bad thing. It's just our age-sex demographic is usually higher. We're usually an older group of employees at municipalities, and part of this because people come and they stay because the benefits are good, but it is an impact. The other thing that we have is our prescription usage is high for that very same reason. So that being the second largest on the self-funding gives you an idea there. This is what our claims versus premium has been for the last 4 years. And you can see that our claims, again, are almost 100% of what our premium is, or a little higher. So, and that doesn't include any administrative or reinsurance costs that we showed on the prior page. And then, like I said, you know, we ran well in 16, 17, so we did get some money back on that. And that's the idea. When we have a year like 2015, we're not paying out an extra $300,000. This is a self-funded scenario for you guys. What we would have actually had at the city had we been self-funded. There should be an asterisk on the bottom of that. There's actually, we had a claim come in August here, $14,276 that we paid out in 17 that actually is on 16's claim. So that's why the 639, 636 is on there instead of 625, 360, which is the difference between the 6.224 and the 5.5. But the numbers, like I said, this is something we shop out every year, and it tells us, you know, we have data analytics that we plug it into, and it tells us exactly where we need to be and what our risk threshold is. So our risk threshold right now is about almost $3,700, and our deductible is $3,000. The next deductible we can buy to is a $5,000. So right now, we don't need to take that extra risk because the benefits of the reduction in rates we would get to buy a $5,000 deductible instead of a $3,000 are less than what we pay out in additional health reimbursement accounts and reimbursing those deductibles. So there's a method to the madness. These are our large claims over the last 4 years. So you can see in 2014 that $358,000 claim, we left our current carrier because they knew that they had a large claim bill. And when we shopped that out on the self-insurance side, we get what's called a laser claim. So let's say that the city's risk was going to be $50,000 for one claim. And that was the maximum they could pay. Well, if an insurance company is reinsuring you to pay everything above $50,000, and their reinsurance premiums are only $70,000, and they know they're going to pay $200,000, what do you think they're going to do? You think they're going to take that risk and say, oh, well, this City of Washington's nice guys, we'll eat that. So they do what's called lasering the claim. So they take that claim, and if they expect it to be $200,000, which our top claim in 2015, that number one was that same claim as number one claim was in 2014. They're going to set that laser at $200,000. And now the city is only going to be responsible for $50,000 on all the other claims, but that one claim, they're going to be responsible for the first $200,000. And that's what makes it tough for a group the size of the city, because one claim or two claims can totally swing what happens to your financial gain or loss. So the risk, if we can get rebates on premiums when we run well, and that's exactly what the insurance companies designed this product that you guys have for, is groups your size. Doesn't make sense for them. Not to take that risk. You don't get all of it back, but you're going to get half of what you save back. But if you're not getting all of it back, you don't have the risk. But, you know, $300,000 loss, which would be 25% of your total premium for the year. And that's the risk reward there isn't good. So let's look at 2017. This is what we had, and this is basically through the first 6 months through August. And the $41,000 claim is now $141,000. So this is what we see is, you guys probably see on the TV, hepatitis C cure. So that cure is a $100,000 treatment over 3 months. We have it. So if that treatment doesn't take after 3 months, they wait 60 days, and then they'll administer it again, so you can get another 100,000. If that doesn't take, then you're on the road to a liver transplant. So when an insurance company sees that, then could we have issues next year? Possible. We could have that going on. But I'd rather bake it into being instead of being self-funded, having that lasered out at $500,000, which would be, a third of our premium, almost, a little more than a third. That's a risk that the risk reward isn't worth it for the city to take. So that gives you an idea. This is what our current loss ratio. We're running right now at 56%. Last year we were running about the same, and we ended up at 77. So again, the problem is one claim can move the needle so much, because a $500,000 claim can raise that, from 56 to 86 like that. If you look at our last month that's reported on there, which is August of 2017, you can see where our claims jumped to 170,000 in 1 month. And that was where that $100,000 treatment kicked in. So we'll find out here in a couple months if we're going to have another 100,000. And then the idea of doing a renewal early, a lot of your guys' renewals are timing. So if you're running well, we take you out to market early, because we know, like this, we had our renewal done before this hit. So when you're running well, and then we could end up running, and we've had it before. So 2014, we didn't run, we were running really well at 6 months. And we ended up running well over 100%. Because we have large claims, we had a couple cancers, it happens. So those are things that, again, from a self-funding standpoint, fully funded, those are things. This is a little news article from 2012 on Crawford County. And they're on just right at 100 employees. And they went self-funded. And you can see there's some names up there that are highlighted that an administrator, and they have, if you go to the Division of Insurance, you can look up back in the early 2000s, the same administrator was hooked to a guy named Howard Danzig that had some issues. So those are, I don't mind saying that you can look that up on the DOI. Again, that was with school districts and municipalities. But what happened here is you had some commissioners that said, hey, we're an older group, we're too small to do this. And, the end result was they were over $900,000 4 years later in the hole. And trying to get out of it to a fully funded plan, but still having to pay the run out. And another thing you look up, it went off for tax bond issue part. So that's some things that you can read. But again, the size in 1 claim, 2 claims, moving the needle so much is a big deal. There's some advantages to self-funding, no doubt about it. The flexibility and plan design, you can pick and choose and change what you want to do with your benefits in the middle of the year if you want to. You can choose what to cover or what not to cover. There's tax savings. There's no premium tax for a self-funded claim fund. And you get to hold on to that cash flow until you pay it out. But if you actually do the financial responsible thing, that first 2.5 months where you really don't have any claims, 3 months, you put that in reserves and hold it for when you leave self-funded, you pay it out on the backside. And you need to do that, keep that in the reserve plus your claims fund. These are some of the things that we look at. We've run at 96% over the last 5 years. The other thing that's not included in the fees that we showed is there is a per member per year reinsurance fee from the Affordable Care Act. TPA, you have a TPA run your benefits, pay your claims. Case management, like we talked about in the hepatitis C claim, well, the pharmacy's being paid out of one place and the medical's out of another. That pharmacy claim doesn't go over to that medical claim and put case manager on it for 3 to 6 months. So they can literally go through $200,000 treatments and the medical company not know about it yet, not have a case manager on it. So the other thing is the networks that you have to choose from. Discounts are a big thing. So United Healthcare, Anthem, and Aetna all run between 58 and 59% discounts. That means for every $1 of claims that you have, you're only going to pay 41, 42 cents of that dollar out to the providers. They've negotiated that deep of discounts. So when you deal with running networks, like Anthem owns HealthLink, so HealthLink runs about 50 cents on the dollar. Well, if you have $1 million of claims and you're losing 8% on it, you're not going to run near as well. It's another thing to look at. Risk assumption, again, we looked at stop loss, and then your asset exposure and your fiduciary responsibility. At the end of the day, if a claim gets denied by the insurance carrier and you're self-funded, you as a city would have to choose whether to pay that claim or not, which opens up the fiduciary responsibility. You're fully funded. Again, we talked about maximizing your exposure. You can still partially self-fund. It limits it. If you look at your last 3 years, if you include your performance rebate, we've actually had a renewal average of negative 0.33% with no benefit changes. The other big thing is you realize the savings on the partially, on the self-funded mechanism we have, and you don't have the additional exposure. And then we talked about the 4 years. We can switch carriers. There's going to be times that happens where you can't switch a carrier because your health risks are just too great, and a full insured carrier won't take you either. But the difference is you don't realize that loss, that high increase until the following year. Or if you're self-funded, you realize it in the year that you had it, and you're going to realize it the next year too, because they're going to laser the claim out. So, insurance company pays your reinsurance fees. We talked about Merlin a little bit, Steve. We're kind of anxious to see theirs come out. They also do not protect the municipalities from laser claims. They are the responsibility. So if you run poorly, and their caps are $30,000 to $50,000, and if you run poorly, that laser claim, you're directly responsible for it. So the actual protection from that is not there. You're in a group of municipalities, and I saw the list the other day. I think they have 17 or 18 now, maybe. And I think there's one that's bigger than Union, and Union's maybe the second biggest in there. So again, volatility of what they're dealing with, to be self-funded at that level is very risky. The other thing, we did this review on this on the Merlin deal in 15. You guys had a laser claim every year in 15, 14, and 13. And we've taken it out for self-funded bids. So again, their service is actually out of Kansas. There's that guy out of Kansas that services. And the examples I gave, the Meat Cutters Association, consortium back in the late 80s. What happens with, you don't monitor what comes in your consortiums. You don't underwrite the health risk. Sick groups get in, sick and old get in, and then when they get healthy or they get younger and they can get cheaper rates outside that pool, guess what? They get out. So what are you left with? Sick and old. So what happens to your pool? It implodes if you don't underwrite. There's a municipality pool back in the late 80s. And actually, city wasn't even planning on doing it. And we told, they get 2-year rate caps. They didn't underwrite anything. Ridiculously low rate. We advise all our municipalities to go with it. And we see in 2 years that they get a 60% increase. We were wrong. They got a 59% increase. But it imploded, and obviously it was gone in 2 years. You have to be careful about what you're doing. Questions on this?
Do we have any questions?
You guys know where my office is. I'm sorry to take so much of your time. Just, stop in anytime. This is, like I said, a 10,000 feet overview of it. Be glad to answer any questions.
Any questions?
The overall message is, about $40,000 in decreases in system benefits. And if we continue to run well, we're going to take a little bit of a bump. We could have anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000 rebate. If we run well, we could go down the path, and like I said, it could be nothing. So no promises there.
Okay, thank you, Scott.
Thanks, Scott.
Thanks for the information. Is there any discussion regarding this item?
Need a motion accepted in the minutes?
Second.
Okay. We have a motion by Salentrup, seconded by Holtmeyer to accept this into the minutes and send it on to council. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you've sent that on. Thank you.
Report of department heads, public safety, police.
Chief?
No Shave November's going along just fine, as you can see. Want to praise the officers of the department who are participating and have contributed. And a big thank you to the citizens of the city for funds they have contributed. I think we're right at $2,000 to give towards Make-A-Wish. So thank you to everyone. I implore everyone to please close your garage doors and lock your smaller doors in your garage. We've had a rash of thefts from garages. And this person uses vehicles in the driveway to access the doors, to use the garage door opener.
Oh,
And they've even reprogrammed one garage door with a different code so they could open it but nobody else could. We have pictures of this person though. Someone had a camera. So we're looking for a young white male, early 20s, drives a silver car, 4-door. See something like that cruising in your neighborhood, give us a call. But again, this is that time of year, extra security, lock your cars, lock your homes. If you're keeping valuables in your car, put them in your trunk. Don't keep them out in the open. If you're walking through stores, don't leave your purse in your cart. Keep track of that. And that's about all I have for you, really. But we do have also some counterfeit $20 bills floating around to businesses. So please, businesses, check your 20s. Thank you.
any questions of Chief? Thank you.
Fire protection.
Bill?
I have a letter that I provided Mary, directed to Administrator Lamb regarding the ESCI contract for the study proposed area for a fire station and a pumper truck for your review and consideration for next council meeting. I'll be there to answer any questions you might involve, but a copy of the contract is going to be in your packet along with the cover letter. The key thing is basically the scope of work includes 2 performance aspects. Aspect number 1 is review the built-upon area of the city not covered by a fire station, which is what the insurance industry calls it, areas of growth, basically, and a station location to best cure any coverage deficiencies. They'll be looking at real estate that's available, some locations. We're going to talk about them in the area. The map that I used tonight, for example, has the built-upon area with no coverage depicted for the current sales tax. And the second aspect of the scope of work is a pre-ISO public protection class review for Washington and the city of Washington based on the new ISO schedule. I personally have been through 4 gradings as chief, but this will be the first one on the new schedule. ISO has changed their public protection class schedule. So with the new schedule and the fact that I would hope to retire someday makes this a perfect fit for providing some strategic planning for the fire department as we proceed. So the other thing is that the company, the ESCI, who we've chosen based on the request for qualifications, gives discounts if the fire chief is an active member of the International Association of Chiefs. So we will realize a 3% discount on the location study and an additional 5% on the pre-ISO study because I'm an active member of the IEFC, which brings the total contract to $34,794. After receiving the RFQs with John Nilgis, the engineer, I contacted Clayton, Missouri Fire Department and Glendale, Missouri Fire Department, who had hired this firm previous. They both told me they did exemplary work and would hire them once again with confidence. That is all in your letter for review for next Monday. That's all.
Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Communications.
Still working with Wash PC and Motorola to address some issues that we have with the new radio system. The hardware is still in, but there is some sort of a issue with the connection between our building and Crestview that's causing stuff to drop out. So Motorola's going back to check their specs, and Wash PC is also looking at some of the things that they can do so that we're within the specs. So far, hardware's sitting there, but we're still operating on the current radio system. I tested 4 people today for the open position I have in dispatch, and I have some additional testing I'll be doing next week as well. And I think that's it.
Any questions of Lisa? Thank you.
Emergency management.
Mark?
The emergency management Facebook page is growing, particularly the post on holiday safety, and the bridge lane closure gets a lot of popularity. We're continuing to send out monthly safety tips to all employees and other tips as appropriate. We held a safety injury subcommittee meeting on the 2nd of November. We investigated the accident injuries that have occurred so far this year, and we subsequently made that report to the whole safety committee meeting on 11/16, and we made recommendations on safety rewards. So our next meeting is January 18th. Some in-progress things we scheduled. You saw an email, scheduled IS 100 Intro to Incident Command System for January 11 and 12, followed by the IS 700 Intro to NIMS, and that's going to run on January 25 and 26. These are 4-hour sessions, and you only have to attend one of each in order to get credit for the class. And we'll be running these classes in the evening as well. So I'll have to find out what works best for the council, and we'll run 1 or 2 of those in the evening as well to get you covered on that. John Nilgis and myself will be going to Public Works this Thursday as the workday begins as a meet and greet. Letting the co-workers know that I'll be dropping by some of the job sites. I'm not there to, get on them or bust their chops or anything, but I'll just be there to make the job sites safer. Have been reviewing some home health agency emergency plans. State regulations have changed, and they are now required to have an emergency plan. And seeing as how it's the end of the year, I've been getting some phone calls to review their emergency plans before the year ends.
Any questions of Mark? Okay, thank you.
Parks and Recreation.
Darren?
In your packet, you have a recommendation for a replacement of a tractor. In doing so, we compared the replacement of the tractor with the state bid as well as some other cooperative purchasing bids, and we have found that the NJPA gave us the best discount as a 21% discount opposed to a 17% discount with the state bid. We've used the NJPA before. We've used it, I believe, with the skate park, and we've used some of these other cooperatives with the All Abilities Parks and some bleachers and some other items. So we look at this as a good price and would like to make a recommendation to move forward.
Make a recommendation.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Holtmeyer, seconded by Heidrich, to move forward on the bid recommendation for a tractor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you've approved and sent that on to council. Thank
A couple
you.
other items I want to give an update on. We went out for the RFP for our tree inventory. That was through the TRIM grant that we received through the Department of Conservation. We only had one response on that, and that's from the Davy Tree Company. We'll be talking to them this week and trying to narrow that down, and we'll be bringing a contract forward, a recommendation here, probably in the next meeting or so. We also went out for an RFP for the operation and management of our pool. Since our current contract expired, we only received one response, and that was from Midwest Pool, and we'll be meeting with them this week to go over their proposal as well. We're also working on looking at some pricing on the replacement of our bucket trucks as well as a mower, and so that'll be coming up in the next month or so.
Any questions? Thank you.
Community and Economic Development.
Just a few items. We are continuing our discussions with some industries and some potential expansions and land deals. So hopefully you'll see some amendment ordinances coming through in the following months. We're finalizing our December P&Z agenda. The deadline was today for December, so we have 2 special use permits on for right now. I think we have until Thursday to get to the paper, so if something comes in that's in a hurry, we can add that to the agenda as well. You'll see since you approved the contract for the International Shoe Factory Phase 2, you'll see Landmarks Associates out on that side of town starting their survey work. Now that the leaves have fallen, they're going to start taking pictures, doing inventory of each home. We will have to start the survey, we do a public hearing and we send out notices and everything, just so if any of the neighbors are concerned about why people are walking around taking pictures of the neighborhood. So we'll be doing that in January at our historic preservation meeting. And then hopefully at your first meeting in January, if we can get the contract all set up with individual property owners, you should see the contract for the utility replacements in front of you to finish up Front Street. We placed all the conduit and the junction boxes, but the next step is to actually do all the meter bases for individual property owners, because all of the homes along Main Street and a couple of property owners or businesses along Main Street and a couple of the property owners on Front need to have their meter bases replaced and the new conduits put in. We got some cost estimates back, and it came back right in budget range that we did when we were doing the whole TIF estimates, so we were happy about that. And we'll be setting up the meetings with each individual property owner to make sure they approve of the scope of work in December, and then get that in front of you all in January. And then lastly, I just wanted to remind you, since we won't have another admin op meeting in December, that we are pairing with Downtown Inc. and the Chamber for the business succession planning on, there's 2 sessions, one on January 16th, one on January 17th. We are bringing in a consultant from Iowa. He's part of the Main Street Iowa. It's not just for businesses downtown. We're pairing with the Chamber to kind of open it up to all Chamber members, but he'll be hosting a session on how to plan for business succession, what you're going to do when you want to retire and either sell it or move out of the business. And then he's also going to do a separate session on getting your business plan started for kind of people who are interested in starting a business. So, but that'll be mid-January. So, and that's all I have.
Any questions of Sal?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Public Services, Engineering.
Real quick, just to follow up with Sal on the conduit, just to clarify, the conduit is being phased with Public Works, specifically the street department, and Kevin is also providing some assistance. We are essentially through phase one. It's about a three-phase project in order to get the conduit in. So the construction that you see going on right now with Andy's, they are able to backfeed electric into that to kind of keep his schedule going, but we will be working our way east through winter time. So just so you know, not all the conduit's in, approximately 33 to 40% of it's in. So just so we're on the same page.
John, if you don't mind, real quick,
Yep.
I forgot one thing I did want to update you all, because we did, I got an email finalizing it during the public forum just now, but we did open bids for the Shoals Industrial Park development last week. We did get some competitive numbers, one that's actually, significantly less than we had in our cost estimate, so we're happy about that. That helps out with our grant funding, because if you remember, we were awarded less than what we originally requested for that block grant. So that helps out with our budget. And it's Pangea Group is the name of the company. So we will have, I'll draft the ordinance awarding the bid and the notice to proceed for your December 4th meeting. So that will be on there, and that will keep it on schedule. So it's a 110-day contract. They will start, I believe December 15th was a start date, wrap up by March 31st. So the first step would be to get the Barrow site and the industrial and Heidemann all cleared off and the dirt to be ready to be moved, and then they'll move over to Schultz and drain the pond. And the reason that we wanted to do that in that order was so that we don't have to deal with any smell, and as soon as the water's drained, we can get the dirt on there as soon as we can. So,
What was the block grant, the request, and what was the amount?
the request was, we had in the estimate 811,000, and we requested, we originally requested 770 was what we thought. We had some, after the application went through, we realized there were some items that we missed in the original estimate that was going to be a little bit more expensive, but we got the estimate back for 654,000 from Pangea, so significantly less, and that is actually without blasting. Our goal was to, our first priority was to not have any blasting because of some of the businesses out there, the data center and LMI. We didn't, we wanted to, as best we could, to make sure there wasn't any blasting out there, and that was the estimate we got, without the alternate. So, we should be significantly under budget, pending no major, obstacles or problems with rock that they find out there. So,
Thank you.
Okay, John?
No, sounds good. I just wanted to clarify that with the conduit, just so we're on the same page. I've been updating you all on Bluff Road. Bluff Road has been submitted to MoDOT for final review, and we're doing good on that schedule. So I'll know more hopefully in the next, hopefully by the end of the year, first meeting in January with you all. Beaker Studerman, that's on the next STP or grant-funded projects. I've not spoken about that very much. Beaker Studerman is slated to be overlaid in 2019. You will notice down by the Jiffy Lube, I think it's that's not Washington Crossing, but Jiffy Lube location, the pavement's starting to spall up a little bit. We'll be monitoring that through wintertime. I'm trying to get that Studerman through to get to the grant funding. There's no point to overlay it when we're going to get grant funding in 2 years. So if you get any complaints about that, that's kind of the thought process. That does incorporate or does include sidewalks from, I think, Martina Drive to 47, and then on Beaker from 47 to Lexington. Currently, that's how the plans were submitted to MoDOT preliminary, but we have received some initial pushback on sidewalks on Studerman from some of the property owners. So the plan right now is we're going to send out some flyers or some mailers, essentially, to the property owners that live along there, ones that we would have to be working next to. I don't anticipate getting any right-of-way, but I just want to get some feedback from those individuals. So rather than have a public hearing at this time, I'm just going to send some mailers out and see if I can get a little feedback that way. The plan would be that if we could not get something through with Studerman, to essentially relocate that section of sidewalk to Beaker, which would extend it from Lexington all the way to Washington Heights Drive. So there's those duplexes that are kind of, as you go up the second part of the hill and around the bend, that sidewalk's not proposed through there right now. But I would essentially take that Studerman, that quantity, and move it there, which I think really would be a little more beneficial because the city does seem to be growing kind of towards that direction anyway. So that's kind of my contingency plan. But nothing's in place right now. I just want to kind of give you all a heads up if you hear anything from the public regarding that.
Is the bridge any part of that?
The bridge would have it'll have a sidewalk on it, but it's set up for that already. So it's got fencing on one side, and it's got guardrail on the inside. So all it would be is pouring the deck more than anything. So yes, to answer your question, no improvements to the bridge, but sidewalk and overlay adjacent. Real quick, you may have also heard that Mountain Crest, I had a really small project towards the end of last week. Mountain Crest, Tony brought up to my attention that Mountain Crest had about 2 to 2.5 inches of differential sediment on the sidewalk panels. So we don't currently dowel our sidewalk panels. They're just poured, cut, they're not actually doweled in. But in the cul-de-sac, you would see settlements of approximately 2.5 inches. So instead of remove and replace in its totality, because they are in pretty good shape, we actually moved forward with a small project to mud jack them. So I mud jacked all the concrete panels in the cul-de-sac. It turned out really good. So if you guys get a chance, I would suggest just make the loop in Mountain Crest and come back. I have some photos prior to, but you can imagine 2-inch differential settlements, pretty significant. So that got taken care of towards the end of last week. And then finally, I had an email come through early part of today. FEMA is actually going to be in Franklin County on Wednesday. I had a training scheduled, but I'm going to go to this instead. They have they're proposing another map modification for the flood zones. So I don't know how that impacts our creeks yet. That's what the whole study's over. I will say the one that was done in 2011 is what they called map. It was a map mod, is what they call it. It essentially brought the old paper maps to a digital version. And if you recall, that had quite a bit of changing in the flood maps, and there was a significant amount of proactive work done by the city to reduce that impact to our citizens. That does not mean that this is void. It just means that the potential's there, that they may look at them again.
Did you say FEMA?
FEMA, yep. So keep that in mind. I will know more Wednesday. It's just an initial scoping meeting, but they're looking at doing creeks. I do not know if that includes Washington. So I just want to kind of give you all a heads up about that. And then with FEMA, we are going through the final stages of getting the money back from the flood. So I've not necessarily updated you on that, but everything's been submitted to FEMA, and I'm just waiting to get essentially the final dollars back. It was not as significant as the 2015 flood. We did not have as much sediment. We didn't have the trail, to take care of on the east side, so it's not as much dollars as what was previously, but it does look pretty positive that we'll have that back pretty soon, pretty quickly. So,
Do they do that on a regular basis, or?
the map modification? Yeah, their goal is when they went to digital maps, everything was done in paper by hand. 1982 moving forward was all done by hand in Franklin County. So now that they went to the digital maps, the goal was that they could update them currently much quicker. So what you're going to see is these things are going to move, rather than 20 years, potentially, 7 to 10. And we're kind of getting in that 7 range again. So we're kind of, I know we kind of all put that kind of behind us. I know I did, but we could potentially be moving to another modification. Now, it could be for the good as well. So we don't know the outcome yet, but we'll keep an eye on it.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions of John?
Building inspections?
John?
Okay, well, just to kind of give you a little bit of an update, Riverbend Estates is probably going to have their full occupancy on 4 out of 7 buildings this week. They're moving forward to get the other 3 within the next 6 weeks. The Casey's gas station is coming out of the ground. Their foundation's in on the main building. I have the plans in for the urgent care there at Madison. They finally sent me some MEPs on it so I can start actually doing something with those. And we have a new cell phone store, Boost Mobile, that's moved in right there next to Schnucks as of today.
Any questions of John?
just have one more thing. Just, we are hopefully, well, we will have in front of you at the next council meeting, the code update. The 90-day review period for the 2015
It's done.
code review is lapsed, so we're done. We're out of the review period. So I have an ordinance drafted, or John has an ordinance drafted, ready to go. So that will be in front of you at the next council meeting. And I think the recommendation is, well, the recommendation is to move forward and make that inactive that evening rather than push this off. So
We've not had really any comments with regards to that, is that correct, John?
I've only had 3 people actually come in and want to look at it, and I have gotten really no comments from anybody. Other than when we were originally looking at the amendments, I had a couple of comments from a couple of architects, but nothing major.
Are we going from 9 to 15?
Yes.
And we will allow PEX piping now from that point on. The ordinance will be effective as of that day that you pass it. We've had 2 or 3, at least 2 I can
we've
count
had
of.
3.
3? Okay, then it
3 so
wasn't
far.
maybe.
Did they end up using PEX out at the Riverbend?
Yes.
Yes.
Worked out okay, I guess?
So far, time will tell.
Nobody's moved in yet.
And that's the totality of the ordinances, the PEX, or is there more things?
Oh, no,
to it?
there's more than that.
Oh, no.
Okay, you got everything, there's some other things.
I'm just saying that's probably the biggest issue. out of
Right, I
this
mean, that's what
code
we've talked
upgrade.
about, but, okay, we'll read it when we see it.
Been going by the 2009 code, and we're updating it to 15, correct?
Correct.
Right. Any questions?
Nope.
Okay, thank you, John.
Streets and solid waste.
Tony?
Well, we had the double route pickup last week that went well, and then on Friday, we had our trash and recycle guys out working, picking up their routes, and that went pretty well. This week, we started our second round of leaf pickup. We had 2 units out today, mainly due to manpower. Hopefully, later this week, we'll get a 3rd unit out and get that rolling too. We are working from east to west, and we are also working shorthanded with a recycle driver, with a recycle collector, and we have one of our trash truck drivers has gone 2 days this week, so we're backfilling all those positions. And aside from sweeping, that's pretty much going to consume our next 2 weeks.
Okay, any
Tony,
questions of Tony?
Well, we read about a week ago or so in the newspaper that we're now going to go to bulk recycle pickup. Is that right? Have we decided that, or is that a done deal?
Yeah, we just don't have a vehicle to do it yet.
Okay.
yeah, I would just add, I think, Tony, you indicated it's approximately 5 to 6 months to get the vehicle in town. So
No, that's fine. I
when we
just
say
thought
we're
there was
going-
going to be more of a conversation here as opposed to that decision being made, and that's where we're going to go forward. I'm fine. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page, that's all.
Yeah, we sat down, and I don't know if we remember, we did have a subcommittee, a council subcommittee sit down, and we looked at essentially the pros and cons of going in this route. Really running the numbers with the manpower, we've grown to a point where we need to add an additional person or 1.5 people. I say 1.5, just we need to get man hours. It's taking Tony approximately 10 to 12 hours to get off a Monday and a Wednesday route, I believe, which we're paying overtime for that. I mean, it's really an unacceptable situation to be in, especially since our building permits have been up. We've added approximately 60, 65 more lots in 2017, so we're going to be quickly approaching the need to add on to that. So in doing so, we looked at the operations, tried to cut back on that, maybe backfill that with more efficient equipment. That's where this single stream recycling comes into, is with the study or the trial period, we cut those man hours essentially in half. So the guys get off the routes much faster. It allows us to not have to hire an additional person. We can then have additional manpower to do all the other things that streets and potentially, public works in general need to do. Running the numbers, it's 2 to 2.5 year payback if you just keep those man hours and reuse them in other places. So yes, the goal is that we would go live somewhere late spring, early summer with single stream recycling. Now, that does not change anything in the home per se, but the ultimate goal is that we would go to cardboard type pickup at the curb once we kind of get up and running on our feet.
Right.
So keep in mind, that's not going to happen tomorrow, that's not going to happen January, February, March, April, but it will be coming in 2018 with cardboard at curbside.
Great.
Also, why it's taking 5 months, because we got ordered a new truck, and we're gonna share that truck with recycling, correct?
I'm sorry.
It's going to be basically a trash truck, but it's going to be labeled for recycling only. And if, God forbid, we needed it for an emergency, we'd always have it there as a trash truck also. The biggest thing with it, and I wasn't going to get into the whole discussion of the truck, but we were trying to buy the new trash truck under the contract that we had from January for the last trash truck. And they were going to honor it, but they weren't able to do it under the contract to also incorporate the trade-in of the other 2 recycle trucks. So it looks like we're going to have to probably set it all back out for bid, post it in the paper, and go through the whole process again. Because what we could gain possibly by maybe a cost increase next year probably won't be enough to make up the loss of us having them 2 recycle trucks laying around our yard until we could sell them. So we want to do a trade-in on them.
It's all good.
Also, Tony, where are you guys? You started on the east end. Do you know where your guys are at right now?
They started on the east end. I know one of the leaf trucks was working through, Paradise Lane in that area.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure where the second one was at this morning.
First Parkway.
First Parkway?
Okay.
Yeah, so they're kind of working their way down. We get a third one going and might pick up the pace a little bit better.
So you're going to work your way a little south of there and then catch.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
They may work in the main part of town before they jump over to Stonecrest or something, but some of those subdivisions don't really have a leak problem.
Right. All right. Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, thanks, Tony.
Water and wastewater.
Kevin?
Well, the water side, everything's going good. We did have a break Thursday down at Front and Market. Water line actually had apparently broke on Monday. We didn't hear about it till late Wednesday. So we attempted to try and hopefully not have to work on it during the holiday, but joys of the water department, it decided it made its decision for us. But that all worked out okay. Wastewater side, everything is going good. Treatment plant's running well. Lift stations are doing good. So right now, everything's flowing and staying where it should be. I do have one thing I'm going to be bringing, actually Mary's going to be bringing along with her stuff, but I do need to do a budget amendment for the 2017-18, my small tools line item by $15,000. Our injection pumps for our chlorination system are starting to fail prematurely. They're about a year old. We've noticed that this is the second round of pumps we've bought. We've been trying to keep it economically feasible by buying some of the lower cost pumps. Well, they're not maintaining the way they need to, so need to buy the actually the higher end pumps this year. They should give us at least 3 years of service before they start acting up. So I need to amend the budget. So we'll be coming with Mary on the 4th.
There's no warranty on them?
No, 1 year, but we're past that 1 year. Seems like how everything works. You get that 1 year out of it, and the next thing you know, it's...
And these type of pumps aren't rebuildable, Kevin?
No. What happens is the chlorine's very aggressive, and it just starts eating the parts up. And the new pumps that we are buying, because they are a higher end pump, they do have rebuildable parts that can come with them. Right. These other ones have been trying to save money and trying to make it work as good as we can, and it's just not working. So we're going to have to actually spend the other dollar.
Do we have anybody certified that can rebuild those?
Yes.
Okay. That's the way to go.
How's the water tower coming? We started on that yet?
No, it won't start on until February. We will be having a pre-construction meeting on the 8th of December to get everything kind of lined up and figure out where they're gonna stage at. It's gonna take more room than what they've got. We'll probably have to stage some stuff at Public Works, and they'll just have to travel back and forth because we're kind of limited to space up there. So,
okay.
But it's all still moving forward and just waiting for weather now. So,
good.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, thank you, Kevin.
Finance?
Mary?
Finance is busy working on the audit. The auditors will be here mid-December, so we're trying to get our schedules prepared for that. Also, the budget document, the big thick book that we present to GFOA for our ward, that will be available in about 2 weeks on the website. And then also, in addition to what Kevin was saying, I will have a budget amendment for fiscal year end 2017, and then another budget amendment for 2018 at the December 4th council meeting. And then also Darren and I, we had a conference call today with Standard & Poor's to go over our bond rating for the refinancing of the 2012 bond issue. And it went real well, so we will hear something by the end of this week. So the goal is to maintain our A+ rating and, if possible, to move up to A++. Would be the best news, but, so. That's all I have unless you have questions.
Any questions? Thank you, Mary.
Information technology?
Robert?
Just been doing trouble tickets and trying to stay on top of everything. We had some hiccups today with some network equipment that we've been trying to work out. Aside from that, I'm going to be bringing an ordinance for the approval of new servers to the next meeting. Aside from that, it's just everyday work.
Robert,
Any
for
questions?
the public to view the council meetings, is that on our home web page for the city that they can access to that?
There's a link on our site to the YouTube channel. You can't watch it directly on our website because you have to have a certain amount of viewers before they'll let you do that.
That's where we were telling you about, you needed 10,000 likes, I think, wasn't it 10,000?
Yeah, I think it was something like that
So
before
when we
could-
get to that mark, then I guess the idea is that they can watch it through our home.
Okay, but still now we can go to a link.
They can go to the link and then click
Yes.
on it, it just takes you to YouTube, just like any other video you'd watch on YouTube.
Okay. All right, I just had a few questions about how they did that. They could find it, so it's on our homepage. Click the link.
Correct.
To watch.
I
Thank
think
you.
it's down towards the bottom.
Yes,
Mhm.
on the
Down
left
at the
side.
bottom on the
Okay,
left.
just want to give direction. Thanks.
Any other questions?
Could you take a look at ours back here tonight or tomorrow sometime, so it works when we're having a meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Library?
Claire?
We had a total of a little over 11,000 items checked out in October, so that's pretty awesome. That's an increase from last year, by the way. We added 63 new patrons to the system. 34 were actually in our library district. Processed 24 passports, and we shipped out 913 items from libraries, about 40 libraries across the state. So our patrons were able to check those out, and they also borrow from us. So Jefferson County, we have a pretty good relationship with them right now. We borrow a lot from them, and their patrons like what we have. So we see a lot of Jefferson County things. But every week, it seems like every week, the stacks on the shelves, we had to expand our Evergreen courier shelves because we didn't have enough room for everything that's coming in. So that relationship is a really good one for our library. One of my door counters got disconnected, probably from a little kid messing with it. So my numbers are a little off. I've only got 7,200 people coming in, but that's just one entrance. So I know we're still probably around 10,000 people coming in the door. Wi-Fi, we switched from a platform where people had to accept our policy to just a password because it wouldn't work on the devices that were coming in the door consistently, even the staff devices. So we're going to be posting the policy that's available for people, but the Wi-Fi is going to consistently work. So that's something that I've been hearing complaints about for a while, and I'm glad that we managed to fix it. So 964 people come to programs. That's pretty impressive. I'm really proud of my staff that do the programming. They are really good about figuring out what's popular and even trying different things that you've never thought of, and they're really popular. We had about 72 people come to a monster program. They made a monster out of a cereal box and like just decorated it. And they had 72 people in that room. The Friends of the Library just helped us install brand new audio-visual equipment in our meeting space. So if you haven't been over, next time you attend a meeting, it's really nice. We were able to show a movie last week and had about 50 people come. So these are mostly little kids, preschool age kids. They got to decorate boxes like cars, and it was a drive-in movie. And they loved it. They sat in that in their little box and watched Minion movies, 2 of them. We weren't expecting them to sit through one, but they did. They loved it. So, but that allowed us to get a lot better sound and picture, because we have a 10-foot screen now, and we're able to do projecting for people on both sides of our meeting space now, because we have the old projector and we have the new one, and so it's pretty impressive.
Okay, any questions or comments of Claire?
Human Resources.
Okay, thank you. Shauna?
Yes. So I've been with the city 19 days now. So on my first 19 days, business days, I've focused on introducing myself to our staff. I have been able to attend a couple events where I've been able to interact with folks, Washington and Bloom, and then the Thanksgiving luncheon. So I was able to meet quite a few folks there. But I've also been able to meet our employees at the work sites that they are working in. So I've been able to interact with all departments here at City Hall. I've been over to the police department and interacted with the police and dispatchers there. I've been out to Public Works and to the library, the Parks Department, and the landfill and recycling center. I have a future trip to the wastewater treatment plant, but that hasn't happened yet. I'm here, it's in July. Yeah, we're going to go now. But I've been able to go out and introduce myself and get some face-to-face time with our employees and staff, just making sure that they have a face with a name, and so they're comfortable coming to me with questions. Sent out an email introducing myself, a little bit of who I am, where I've come from, and what my contact information is, because it's great if I'm here, but it's even better if they know where to find me and how to contact me. So I've been doing that. We're jumping right into open enrollment for our insurance. So those meetings will happen December 6th. We'll have 2 sessions, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. We'll do open enrollment and get everybody actively enrolled in the new year. And then January 5th, we have our employee appreciation dinner that will happen. This year, we're going to hold it at the city auditorium. So we're getting that on our calendar, starting to plan that now. And then looking for the future, we're going to start revisiting our personnel guide and get those policies reviewed, work with our department heads, find out what works, what doesn't, how we can improve and make things better for the city employees. Thank you.
Any questions of Shauna?
I know you mentioned that you informed all the employees of the city of Washington where you came from. Where did you come from?
So, well, I'm a Washington resident, but originally from St. Clair, and I had been previously employed by a company called Parway Trison Company. I was with that company for 19 years. I was it wasn't a city, excuse me. It was a privately held company, family owned. I was there 19 years as the HR administrator. So similar role, I was a generalist as well there. And that term just means I'm not a specialist in one area, but I know enough about all areas in HR that I can help in all of those areas. So I was there and left and came to the city. I'm excited for the opportunities here.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Nope.
Okay.
City Clerk? Well, with the hiring of Shauna, I'm able to start addressing lots of boxes of old files that need to be cleaned up. Right now, I'm up to 5 boxes that I'm going to ask for destruction, and we'll just go from there. Sooner or later, I will tackle the basement. That's it. Administration.
I only have 2 items, just the Capital Improvement Sales Tax Committee is going to meet tomorrow at 1 o'clock. We've given a full session available for the Parks Department. They've got the lion's share of the projects that have been proposed so far to date. All of you that participated tonight in the public forum that we had, thank you for coming out. We had a total of 14 people, I think, from the outside. We had more people from the committee and staff members here, but that's okay. Just gave another opportunity for the citizens to go ahead and interact and ask any questions if they had any. So we will see after tomorrow at the committee. I think, like I said, the Parks Department, when they are completed, Sal's going to give an update on our survey results, and then we'll talk about our next steps. We may or may not have some ideas from the general public that may come to us that may have some idea of what they'd like to see, maybe a capital improvement item. We'll have to wait and see. If we do, then we'll have the committee go ahead and you know, meet for that purpose as well. But in talking with the mayor and talking with John Vietmeyer, John's our chair for the committee, I think we'll probably keep up the weekly meetings so that all of these items are fresh in our mind, et cetera. But our goal is to go ahead and get a recommendation. Well, 2 things. Let me back up. The first recommendation, you'll receive a letter along with an ordinance to go ahead and place the capital improvement sales tax renewal on the ballot for April of 2018, and that will be at your meeting coming up this Monday night on December the 4th. I've got it. We've got it drafted. We wanted to, after Parks gets a chance to go ahead and make their presentation, we're going to go ahead and add their thoughts to that letter, et cetera, but you will get a copy of that letter that basically highlights all of the projects. And the goal here is to try to show you as the city council that the ordinance, or that that there is a need to renew the capital improvement sales tax, and so to place that on the ballot. So that's the reason why we're going to get that to you in December. The second goal for them as well is for them to go ahead and give you the full, you will have the list of projects that have been submitted, but I think they would also like to get a chance to make it within the, within our budget of what our projected revenues are going to be over the next 8 years. So I think they're going to be looking at making those recommendations because I will tell you, as of right now, even before Darren speaks tomorrow to the committee, we've already got $11 million of projects on there. We've got about 15.1 possibly of what's revenue that'll be available for it. So we're going to have to do, we're going to have to work on it. So, but that's the idea of what that committee will go ahead and provide that for you. So, as I told some of the members that came in, those meetings are open to the public. It'll be 1 o'clock here in the council chambers. And then finally, excuse me.
They're about an hour long.
Yeah, they're about an hour long. It may last,
15.
I'm saying it may last a little bit longer tomorrow because, like I said, I know there's a lot of projects for the Parks Department, and I don't know how the discussion will go after we get done with that because that'll be basically the last of the program ones that we had, so it just depends on the discussion of the committee. And then finally, as you've heard, you've got a lot of items that are going to be coming to you on the December 4th City Council meeting, but we've done that so that we can not have to hold a second meeting in December, and right now it looks as if we've succeeded. The only thing, I think there was one possible, nothing?
No, now that I got that cleared out.
Okay, we're good. Then I think that for the most part, there should be no reason for us to have a second meeting in December. So that's all I have, unless you have any questions.
No closed session?
I do not have a need for one. Merry Christmas early.
There is one more item, council comments, the meeting time discussion.
Oh, did you want to talk about that tonight? Okay.
I don't have a problem with the meeting being at 7 o'clock. I think it gives the public a little more time to get home and get their kids together and be here by 7 o'clock. Because if you go back any closer to 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, it could put a burden on a family. My opinion.
I agree with Steve. I think for the public, 7 o'clock would work better for everybody.
Well, when we talked about it a little bit, I wasn't opposed to, a 6:30 or something, but now we have a library meeting at 6, so it enables us to be at that for an hour before a 7 o'clock meeting, so we didn't get a chance to change it yet. We're talking about changing the council meeting, so for now, I think 7 is probably the right time, in my opinion.
Anybody else weighing in? Do we need to vote, or what do we need to do?
No,
Just
it's just a discussion.
Sounds like it's going to stay? Enough agreement on that?
I know when, Mayor, when we first came on, we had meetings at 7:30, and I think we decided pretty close after that to decide to go to 7
We
o'clock.
did that the very first night.
Yeah, the very first night, yeah.
The very first night we did that.
Like I say, I think it's really worked out pretty good for the public and for us both.
Mhm. And our meetings don't run that terribly long.
Right.
Before that, they did.
Mhm.
Sometimes even midnight, remember that? So, anyway. We've streamlined things a little bit. Okay, so we'll keep the meetings at 7.
Sounds good.
All right, anything else for the good of the order?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Got one down under.
Yes, Marlon?